Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Today we have a special guest. We have Adam Free. I brought in an astrologer that I know you guys all enjoy. So if you can hear and see us, make sure that you say hi and welcome, Adam.
Hi, Diane. Thank you so much for having me on your show. This is wonderful. It's been a little while. So
Yes.
everyone out there, I am currently offering the discounted
Mm,
astrological readings of all types. So if you're at any type of crossroads, if you want to have any questions related to business, health, finances, we're talking any aspect of life, or if you're interested in getting a natal chart, which has more to do with your
mm,
cosmology, then please contact me. Again, those discounted readings are not going to last forever, but they are definitely
right.
lasting now. So yeah, astrology is just a very wonderful and interesting tool to use for yourself or someone else. And so my email address is actually written in the box right there. It's
Oh,
Adam
perfect.
Pro. That's ADAMASTRO 777 at gmail.com. And if you have not yet subscribed to my YouTube page, Adam
Mm,
Stargazing Astrology, and that information will also be in the description box of the video.
yes. Yes. So I'll put some links below, the links to my website. If you do want a reading, go to dianeaquarius.com. And if you want to check out membership, there'll be a link there for that too. And thank you, Adam, for taking time. Adam right now is in Hawaii on vacation. So it's like first thing in the morning over there. So thank you for joining us on
You are so
vacation.
welcome. There is there is so much to talk about. Um,
Yes.
yeah, things have definitely been kind of intense, kind of crazy. And there's just definitely a lot at stake right now in these couple like super crucial months.
For
Politically.
sure. Absolutely. And, they're thinking that Kamala's going to make her announcement tomorrow about the VP pick. And I made a video where I looked at the 6 people that we knew that she was vetting. And it was interesting. I think all 6 are good candidates. I don't think she could make a terribly wrong move with any of them. But I could also see that some would be better for her than others. Like some would present some challenges, whereas some I think would be smoother sailing.
Mhm.
But, the cards for Tim Walz were really good. And, I did ask my guides because, like on the other side, they know everything, but they'll only tell you so much because of free will. I was like, who do you think she will pick? And the answer was, you're assuming that the person that gets the best cards is going to be chosen. Because I also kind of have like a little bit of a sinking feeling that she is going to go with Shapiro. Now, like I said in the video, I don't have anything against these people. I don't actually know any of them. They were all cold reads for the most part, other than like say Pete Buttigieg and Mark Kelly, who I really don't think it's going to be either one of those. But but where the younger people don't care for Shapiro, they have like horrible nicknames for him. I think that could be a burden for her. But he carries Pennsylvania, and it's really hard to become president without carrying Pennsylvania. So I understand,
Mhm.
the strategy behind it. I mean, looking at the cards, I would like her to pick Tim Walz. But I know that they have their strategists and they analyze these things. And yes, Shapiro would be good in terms of winning over a key state. And I know that you did the chart for Shapiro, which I don't think a lot of astrologers have done. So, what is this chart like? Because I have no clue.
Yeah, so good question. So one of the first things that I saw that I wanted to point out is the elevated Aquarius and the astrology chart that relates to Kamala's chart as well. So they both
Oh,
have Aquarius on what's called the midheaven. The midheaven is the highest point in the astrology chart. It stands for the goal aspiration. So his goal aspirations are very much in alignment with Kamala's. He
mm-hmm.
also has a moon in Aquarius. The moon sets the emotional tone. And the reason why I
Oh,
wanted to go with Aquarius, not only because Diane, you're in Aquarius, but but because we are bringing in that Aquarian age. Aquarius really stand. We see things like gender neutral bathrooms. We
right.
see things like individuals holding high positions, all races and all colors. humanitarian ideals are very in alignment with Aquarian ideals. And whereas the planet Pluto, which represents the power structures, is going to be going into Aquarius, those power structures and what will be ruling that dynamic will be those Aquarian energies. So individuals with those highly aspected Aquarian energies are very much more in alignment with those Aquarian values that are going to be happening. And those individuals like Kamala and Shapiro also have the tendency to be able to see trends, like future trends. So that is one thing I saw. He also has the planet Jupiter, which represents our gifts. He has Jupiter Aquarius as well. So his gifts come through helping humanity, and his gifts come through with those humanitarian ideals. So those are the first things I saw. Another thing that I saw, which kind of showed me that he's a very solid individual, is his sun sign, which represents his ego structure, is sitting in what's called a conjunct aspect, or right next to Saturn. So we have the sun here, we have Saturn. They're rubbing off one another. Individuals with this placement, they're very responsible, they're very practical, they're very disciplined, they're very grounded, and they take their responsibility extremely seriously. These individuals are perfectionists and very hard workers.
I do get that from him. Yes. I just want to validate that, because I know a lot of us haven't heard of him before. And if you haven't been watching him, I just want to validate what you're saying, because he does seem like a very hard worker. He is progressive in a lot of ways. And he does seem like a solid person. And in terms of his cards, I think his future is going to be good no matter what he does. Yeah,
these individuals are kind of like the salt of the earth. Another thing too is the sun represents the ego structure. Sitting next to Saturn gives an individual who has practical, tangible ideals and really wants things to be kind of down to earth. We don't want an individual in a high placement of power with like a radical sun sign like Donald Trump, because they become ego hungry.
Right.
Saturn tones things down. It puts things in a structure. It makes things practical. It makes things logical. It makes things rational. And we really need that right now, like desperately.
Yes. Absolutely.
So he's a great pick. His Mars is in Scorpio. Mars represents our energy. It represents our projected ego. Mars in Scorpio is kind of a formidable opponent in the sense that it's like, I say like Mars and Scorpio, I use the analogy, you put the pedal to the metal. You know when you're car, you kind of like, here's the foot, goes down on the pedal, it kind of keeps the pressure on it. An individual with a Mars and Scorpio, it like holds that pressure and like does not let off. So there's an intensity with the Mars and Scorpio. There's also a competitive nature with the Mars and Scorpio too that's not necessarily seen from the outside, like a Mars and Aries, which is kind of all in your face, but kind of more serves an inner intensity, showing that he has like an inner source to draw upon, an inner strength with the Mars and Scorpio.
So a strong candidate indeed.
Yes. Mars and Scorpio is one of the strongest placements. He has harmonious Pluto aspects. So Pluto represents power. Individuals with harmonious Pluto aspects, they're really able to hold their sense of power without like power tripping, so to speak.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So that's a nice aspect as well. I saw his chart. He has just a really strong dynamic chart, kind of like Kamala. They have a good amount of trine aspect showing a harmonious nature and enhance things like intellectual abilities. He's just overall, he is a strong character. And he has just a lot of strong aspects. His Mars, that Mars being in Scorpio is well too, just makes a strong intensity. He also has an air grand trine. So trines represent that harmonious energy. And when they're in the air element, it indicates enhanced intellectual abilities. Kamala has this as well. So what it is, it's connecting Gemini, Aquarius, and Libra all together, which are the air signs, in a harmonious with the D. So these individuals, they really have an enhanced intuitive abilities, enhanced intellectual abilities. And one of the kind of energetic placeholders of an individual with a grand trine is that of peace and harmony.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
So he could be what we need at this time.
Yes, 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 most definitely.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think he has some baggage that he's coming with, but that doesn't mean that it can't be overcome. You know, like I think no matter who she picks, they're going to have something, right? I mean, everybody has something.
Of course, yeah.
You know, and I just think the most important thing is that we support the person that she chooses, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, we don't want ourselves to fall into fighting and arguing amongst ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think that, you know, would divide us even further. So,
Yeah, yeah.
so his chart sounds really good. It sounds strong. It sounds like he's somebody that is destined for great things, and he's pretty well grounded,
Mm-hmm.
you know, to do this. So I like that.
Yes, yes. Strong, yes, strong placements, good conjunctions, planets sitting next to each other gives them strength, gives them energy. And again, that grand trine, you know, Kamala has that grand trine as well.
Mhm.
And individuals with a grand trine are more likely to, again, create that kind of harmonious space in which things can really get done.
Mm-hmm. Which we need. So I like that.
Yes.
Let me say hello to a few people that I just see. Hello, Barb, Good Juju, Celtic Seer. Who else is here? Soul, Diana, Christina, Trisha, Good Juju, Della, Nancy, Kat. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming in. And I didn't say it, but make sure that you do hit the like button, subscribe. So also subscribe to Adam's channel. You know, check out membership, check out our websites, that sort of thing. So let's keep going. So much talk about Vance, right? Vance, I don't think he could possibly offend more people in like a single day than he just does on a regular basis. And I really do feel like, you know, 45 and the Republicans are having like a buyer's remorse with him.
Mm-hmm.
Because now when 45 goes for an interview, they're asking all about Vance.
Mm-hmm.
They're asking, you know, well, you know, did you hear him say that? Did you hear him say this? And, you know, 45's not liking that. It's taking some of the spotlight off of him. But I mean, some of the things that we're finding out about Vance is so crazy. And I know you did his chart. I don't know what the cutoff is for the Republican Party to replace him. I think, you know, they may be stuck with this man. They picked him. What is his chart like?
So it's interesting you mentioned that. And, you know, Trump in relation to Vance, like one of the key words that I wanted to use and that I was picking up between Trump and Vance is reflection. Like look like you don't like me, look in the mirror. It's like me and me. Does that like totally, right? And so they actually share some similar aspects. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was this Leo energy that he shares with Donald Trump. So there's many layers to Leo. Leo can be the most loving, the most wonderful, and the most creative individual. But on the flip side, Leo can also be the most egocentric and delusional, all about me, and very power hungry. So unfortunately, what we're seeing here is more of that lower aspect of the overblown ego and the power hungry. So he is a Leo, and Trump has a Leo rising. So they share those really strong kind of Leo energies. Another thing that I've noticed about the Leo vibe is that it very much carries the boys club. And when I talk about the boys club, I talked about all those individuals around Donald Trump that have gone down. They all have strong Leo placements.
Really?
Yes. So I found that very interesting. So the first thing is that Sun in Leo, not surprising. So he has his Sun in what's called a square aspect. So individuals with square aspects in relation to their Sun sign, which represents the ego, especially with Leo, they tend to.
Oh, let's see. I think Adam got bounced out. You know what? The second he comes back, I will just put him right back in. No worries. The joys of being live, right?
I'm back. Excuse me. So talking about those Leo energies, so that sun sign in Leo, whenever the sun sign is once on a square aspect or a dynamic aspect, there tends to be a lot of drama. It intensifies that Leo energy, and dramatizes it. Leo can already be a really dramatic sign. So there's always going to be controversy around Vance in relation to what's happening with Trump, just because of the way they mirror one another. So it's good for us in relation to things like the keys. If
Yes.
Mm-hmm. If everyone knows what those keys are, because
Right.
yeah, because in order to be able to successfully win, you need a certain amount of keys.
Yes.
And then, of course, you have to have a solid vice president. And if you pick the vice president and then you backpedal, that's already checked in the no-no box as far as the key.
Oh, so okay, yeah, because I'm sure a lot of you guys follow. I believe it's Alan Lichtman is his name.
Yeah.
He and his son have the YouTube channel. It's pretty entertaining, actually, and they're very intelligent. But yeah, they and he's been quite accurate throughout the decades of picking presidents using these. I believe it's 13 keys, and so one of the keys is actually changing your vice president. Then, like at the last minute, that would be a problem.
Yes. The vice president has a lot, is very much tied in with the keys.
Okay.
Yeah, and to do that is it's like a backpedal. Like what I mean, that the forward motion, that strong forward motion needs to stay in motion, in order to and then it's in relation to the keys. So another thing I see here is he has his Mars in a square aspect as well. So Mars represents that ego assertion. And when it's in a square aspect, some of the keywords I could use for a square aspect would be drama, derangement. Yeah, Mars is very much related to the third chakra. Third chakra is really much the power center. So this could play out in a couple ways. This could be power hungry, as it is with him, or feelings of powerlessness. But with him, it's more of the first. That
Agreed.
power hungry. So, and it's in a square aspect to Venus. Venus is all about compatibility and relationships and harmony. A Mars squared Venus is very much about fighting and quarrel and argument. Venus also has to do with the feminine aspects of so Venus also rules females. So this is not good because half the population is female and you need to get male and female both on your side in order to win. So he's not looked at, generally, like if you have a Venus square, you're basically there's issues around how you're looked at maybe in the female population, and Venus overall has to do with popularity as well. So that can be issues around popularity, and Venus also has to do with his value system. So individuals with a square aspect to Venus, they can have somewhat of a skewed value system. So
to put it mildly.
Yeah, skewed value. I always try to use the
right. Be nice.
The most appropriate, tactful, having a Mercury in Libra. So we will use skewed with that aspect. And again, those square aspects are going to be drama producing. So now the question is, like, what gives this man a position of power? Like, why do people listen to him if he has some of these intense squares? He has some harmonious Pluto aspect, showing that he has the ability to be able to kind of lure people in and kind of hypnotize people through being in that position of power. So he knows at certain points the right things to say, the right way to act, to use for his own gains. So what I'm really seeing here is, like, Trump doesn't like him, he doesn't like Trump. They're total mirrors of each other. They both have overblown. They're both really kind of using each other for their own ego gain. So the question, like, is that sustainable? I mean, I don't know. Like, Trump already wants him gone.
Right.
So that's kind of where we're seeing it with him. The last aspect I wanted to talk about is that he has the planet Neptune sitting next to Jupiter. So Neptune rules illusions. Neptune rules fantasy. Neptune can also rule delusions. He has it sitting next to Jupiter. It's expanding. So whatever sits next to Jupiter, it expands those energies. So this is someone who can be strongly delusional, strongly caught up in their own illusions. And someone who may kind of want to live in like a little bit of a fantasy world. This aspect, someone may really enjoy the power. They may enjoy the fame that comes along with it. It's very much not geared. This aspect is very much geared more towards like someone who's like an actor.
Okay.
A Jupiter Neptune would be a wonderful actor, someone who can create some sort of illusion with things.
Right.
But when you have to be in the real world, this aspect is more like wanting that fame for a sense of like glamour and kind of the aura of glamour that brings. So he's kind of this aspect. He's not. It's not great for like a politician.
Right. I do think 45 is going to be stuck with him, but I also don't see 45 winning. So I think that this is like a short-term relationship. You know, I think he just has to put up with him for the next few months, and then they will never see each other again.
Yeah.
I honestly, because I was one of the very few people that predicted he was going to pick Vance. And I said, he is going to pick someone half his age. And there was only one candidate that was like exactly half his age. And so I really felt like he wanted somebody that was youthful, so to speak. He didn't really look at him as a whole person, as a whole candidate, and everything that he has to, you know, I shouldn't say has to offer, but everything he brings with him. You know, he didn't look completely at him. He was looking at the image of him more than anything.
Yeah. The image, yes. It's, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, like they're working out some karma right now.
That would make sense. Unlike, say, Kamala, who I think she is deeply vetting her VP picks. And she's listening to a lot of advisors. And I think she's taking a very different approach. You know, I think she's going to do this very strategically.
Yes.
More than based on like how somebody looks or their age, you know, the things that are more superficial about a person. I feel like she's deeply vetting these people.
Oh yeah. She's an extreme. She's very intelligent. She's using her intelligence. Yes. Whereas Trump, he's more, you know, he's
con man.
Yeah, con man, shallow, surface, impulsive,
narcissist.
Yeah.
All those lovely things. But I think JD Vance has a lot, or whatever his name is, right? Because he keeps changing his name. You know, I think he has a lot of those narcissistic type qualities too. So then you put these two people together and they're going to clash. I don't think that they would ever see eye to eye because they both want to be the center of attention.
Yep. They would end up like screwing each other over.
Right? It's like that old show, The Odd Couple, right? Where it's like they never got along. But so we have the DNC coming up, and it'll be here before we know it. The DNC, it's interesting. It starts on the 19th, which is also a full moon. And what I have been getting psychically, what I've been getting with my cards, and I want to see what you had to say about this time. It's being held in Chicago, but I also think there might be bigger implications too around this time. That I just see a lot of chaos and a lot of negativity. I think Kamala will be safe. I do see like a lot of strong protests with this, but I just keep hearing Kamala say, this is like what I warned you guys about. Like, this is what I'm trying to save the country from. This is what I'm trying to prevent and trying to heal. So I sort of feel like, yeah, something is going to happen around that time. Does that make sense astrologically at all?
Yeah, it does. And what I kind of feel for Kamala is that she's gonna have to just be super level-headed. And not and like I just feel like some restraint. She's good at the restraint. She's gonna need to not exhaust her batteries, so to speak. This
Yes,
Diane, this is a really intense day. The first
it
thing I
is.
hear is this day is characterized by what's called a T square. And a T square in the astrology chart, it's very dynamic. It's very it's a lot of concentrated and focused energy in a small amount of time. It's also called an efficiency square. So a lot is gonna get done during this
Mhm.
day. But it's just a high level, high intensity, energy packed day. So the moon, which sets the tone, is going to be in Aries. Aries is the first sign, and Aries is ruled by Mars. It's driven, it's fiery, it's energetic, it's passionate.
Mm.
It can be impulsive. So things like
Mhm.
overly impulsive acts will not be good this day with an Aries moon.
Right.
There's there's a chance people may act out impulsively with things. Aries is ruled by Mars. Mars can be things like anger. There could be a lot of words and a lot of anger being thrown and spit out there, maybe threats, things like that. Another aspect too that has been going on now is the planet Jupiter, which represents expansion, has been coming closer and closer to Mars. And Mars is actually past it now, but
Mhm.
because Mars moves a little quicker. However, they're still sitting right next to each other. So Mars rules that anger, that aggression,
Oh,
and
yeah.
Jupiter kind of expands it. So we're going through that now because it's a conjunction that lasts, approximately a couple months because the planets move a little slower. So that's another thing too, is that expanded anger, that expanded rage that could potentially happen with this aspect.
Mm.
Yeah. So that being said, a lot's going to be going on. A lot's going to be activated with this T square, but at the same time, it's going to be a big push forward. It's just going to be
Right. Okay.
yeah.
Because I could feel the intensity of it because I didn't feel much intensity with the RNC. So I know like something is different. But then
Yeah.
too, I'm also wondering, like, I mean, because we get so wrapped up in American politics and things that are happening here. Am I also, I think I'm picking up on two things. Yes, the DNC, but also something that happens more globally too.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have a question here. So the RN so could you just brief me really quick in on what happens just really quick at the RNC?
The RNC,
Yeah, is that the Republican National
yeah,
Convention?
they already had that.
Okay.
And it kind of just went without much fanfare. It wasn't very exciting.
Yeah.
It really got very few people. I mean, it was like really sad. They had Kid Rock performing, and they showed like 10 people standing there listening to him.
Oh dear.
Um, all of the 45 supporters, they put the bandage on their ears in like solidarity with him.
Yeah.
Um, it was like creepy, but I would say non-eventful. He made it known that Vance was going to be, his
Okay.
VP
Yes.
pick
Yeah.
and that sort of thing.
Okay.
I think Kamala will probably do it tomorrow. That's that's what I'm leaning towards. This we'll hear about it tomorrow. I think she will do it before the DNC.
Okay.
Um,
Got it.
but yeah, so it's going to be a large gathering in Chicago.
Okay. Okay. Because another thing here is the planet Saturn. So Saturn represents the Lord of Karma. It's like Saturn is all about like if you stay in alignment, you won't have to like repay and it's like the energy of sowing and reaping. So Saturn has been in a retrograde position, which is all about redoing, redefining, and kind of re-examining where you've stepped out of bounds. So this right here is very much an ideal time in which Kamala can just slam Trump upside down and sideways and call him out on everything.
Right.
So I feel like that is also something that is kind of been happening and will continue to happen because she's a prosecutor,
Right. She can debate. She can talk.
Yeah.
And and that's the whole question too, because he's refusing to show up to the ABC debate.
Scared of her.
And right, he's scared of her, but he said he would do it on Fox. And it's like, well, Fox had to pay almost $800 million for their last set of lies when it came to the election, you know? So, I mean, I don't know if they're really the best venue. I mean, I hope ABC keeps it as is and they just let her have the floor for the 90 minutes. I think that would be perfect.
I do.
I don't know what they do in this case because she has accepted and he's refusing. And my guess is even if they do go through with this thing with Fox, she will show up. I think she will meet him anytime, anywhere. I don't think she's afraid of him. I don't think she's afraid of a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think she will, you know, be present and be well spoken. I just wish that they would fact check things in real time. You know, and I think that's something after this is my prediction. After this election cycle, and we do this again in 4 years, we're going to have fact checking happen as they're speaking. It's going to be something we'll be able to see on our TVs. It'll just be automatic. There'll be someone there fact because I mean, the last time it was when Biden, you know, people criticized Biden. Well, yes, Trump was speaking louder, but what he was saying was pure nonsense.
Oh yeah. It's true. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was flapping his lips.
Right. I mean, I don't know how that made him look stronger, but you know, and one thing, and I was wondering what you think, because to me, this doesn't feel like a regular election. I usually see things a little bit more black and white when it comes to politics because politics don't have a lot of variables. Politicians are pretty black and white. You know, they're pretty well thought out. They usually plan things out ahead of time, right? And they're not people who do things on a whim. So I think that they're a little bit easier to predict. But I think we have a lot of variables. And the two variables that I'm seeing before the election is Biden's health and 45's health. And I don't think this has ever happened, is what would happen, you know, like if 45 had to step out for health reasons, or Biden steps down for health reasons and Kamala's already the president. And, you know, because everybody's very concerned about, you know, getting the ballots certified, you know, she would be the one to like be pushing it through to certify herself to be president, which I don't know if that's, to me, I think that's unprecedented. Like if that's never happened. But I also think there's have you seen some variables with these two men, you know, both Biden and 45 with their health before the election? Because I'm a bit concerned about both their health.
Yeah, you know, that's a good question. First of all, I feel like Biden did step down because he just is overall exhausted. A combination of being exhausted and then also a combination of kind of being slammed too.
I think he was bullied too.
Yeah, it's like, you know, from his perspective, it's like I have served the country. I'm completely exhausted. I'm tired, and I'm not really getting a lot of appreciation. They're just calling me old. They're telling me I have dementia. They're telling me to get like
right.
I think I'm just done. Yeah, I mean, it is. I know he had COVID. I
right.
feel like the man just needs to go and rest.
Yeah.
Time. I feel like with him, the number one thing he needs is rest time. And that he could potentially be okay. I feel like Trump is the type that goes and goes and goes and goes until he just like drops.
Right.
Like with him, it would be just like a spontaneous, like, all right, boom, heart attack, gone, or stroke, or something like that. And that he may be yelling and screaming on a podium, and then boom, dead. That's
right.
Kind of more. I feel like with Trump, it's a little more unpredictable. I don't feel like he's a very healthy person.
Right.
Like one of those bulls that will just go and go and go until they drop. And there are those individuals, you know, he's obviously not, you know, he's on you know, he's overweight. He probably doesn't
diet.
Super stressed out. He has a bad diet. He's on doctor's medication. He's not a healthy man. And
no.
Lasts so long, you know, but really what keeps him going is that will. You know, if he loses, it'll be a different story. Maybe his health will go down. Maybe hopefully the country, who knows? I feel like this is like, you know, the audience he gets is his juice. It's what keeps him.
He
You
feeds,
know,
he's like an energy vampire. He
yeah,
feeds off of other people's energy.
yeah, and that if he gets in, there maybe be a chance he just keeps going. I feel like his health, it will be very much dependent upon whether or not he gets elected.
Mm, right. Because it would be, well, because also, too, I mean, I really don't feel like he's going to be elected.
Yeah.
And once that happens, then he's going to jail and everyone around him is going to jail. So, I mean, like, Kamala is running to be president. He's running literally to save his freedom, his money, his life, his way of life. He's running for a very different reason.
Oh yeah.
It's like it's apples and oranges here. And that's why, he really wanted the Supreme Court to pass that ruling about immunity, which Biden, who is president, is trying to say, look, no, a president shouldn't have full immunity, but this also gives Biden full immunity to do whatever he wants to. Like, I don't think they thought this through because Biden is the president and you just gave him full immunity. But I also think Biden's very ethical and he wouldn't do anything radical. But I think if they pushed him, such as they try not to certify the votes and things like that, that's when I think he's going to just say, I got full immunity. I'm going to go ahead and just certify it. And Kamala is getting pushed in. You know what I mean? Like, we're going forward.
Yeah. I feel like the history of the Democrats is that they actually need to be a little more strategic and a little more hardcore when it comes to this stuff. Because the Republicans will just do anything and not care. Like, they play dirty, dirty, and
True.
Yeah, and the Democrat, it's not about playing dirty, it's about holding your own here.
Right. And the Democrats, I think sometimes in their efforts of being like more ethical and whatnot, they're not as tenacious. And I think that is, an issue. Kat says only if it's done as presidential duties. But that is the whole debate. What is a presidential duty? So taking nuclear secrets to Mar-a-Lago, is that a presidential duty? Because that's literally what 45 is facing now with the legal system. But if whatever Biden does as president, and as long as it has something to do with the presidency and official matters, that he would be immune. I mean, it's really wild that we're living through these times, but it won't last forever. That's what I say. This too shall pass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. I don't know if you looked at this at all, just because there is like so much craziness. Before we get to the election day.
Yeah.
There is a lunar eclipse. And I'm guessing the reason I keep getting questions about it, it's on September 15th, is that there must be some astrologers out there that's predicting like doom and gloom and like in general. I mean, what is the energy of a lunar eclipse?
Yeah, no, that is a good question. So basically, what happens? So the eclipses are really, if you think of like the eclipse as like a unit of energy. Mm-hmm. During eclipse time, it's just a lot happens in a small amount of time.
Okay.
It's just the key word for that is like a very like transformative type of period during those eclipse times.
Okay. So I mean, and we have them enough. I mean, like, I don't feel, here's actually what I do feel. I don't really feel anything horrible is going to happen during the lunar eclipse. I wasn't getting that feeling. But the one thing that I do see in September is there's something that happens this month to Trump that takes the wind out of his sails. And I see him in September as being very downtrodden. That's why I was kind of like getting concerned about his health here. Like, because like right now he's still speaking loudly. He's being his brash self. But I don't know, come September, I sort of see like a different version of him. And it's like something happened. But also, too, he has more, court dates and more rulings coming up. And, I mean, with him, it's like, who knows if it's health, if it's, his legal issues, if God only knows.
Yeah, I mean, if you really think about it, like, if you actually really see what has happened, it's like, well, someone tried to take him out. Like, like one of his own people tried to take him out. He got convicted on all 34 accounts. He doesn't like his vice president.
Right.
Like, he will speak like he's the high king of the universe, but if you actually see
Right.
the events that have happened and have gone down, they don't look so good.
No, no. I mean, there's nothing uplifting and positive, and his poll numbers are,
Yeah.
sinking. And you can't take, I don't take any one or two polls seriously, but when you start to see a whole bunch of them, you start to see a trend.
There's indication.
And right. And
Yeah.
so you start to see, okay, people are pulling away. And I just saw that there's this whole group of Republicans that have gotten together, formed their own group against 45, and they're raising money for Kamala, and they've given her significant amounts now. So like his own, people, so to speak, are turning away from him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for a narcissist, that has to be hard.
Yep.
You know, I don't think he's feeling too high. Like whatever high he was riding, I think September, I don't know. I just see him like almost like literally falling down.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because I mentioned before the planet Saturn, which represents the Lord of Karma, is still going to be in that retrograde position through November. And again, it's like you can say all this stuff, you can act all this way, but Saturn is the sowing and the reaping. And honestly, like, you can't really escape that. You can't escape your consequences. Whether you have to pay them this life or the philosophy about paying them next life. But it is something in the universe that isn't escapable, the law of cause and effect. And he has stepped so out of it. When Saturn is in retrograde, as mentioned before, you get the prefix RE, redo, review, revise, rethink, restructure. So where he stepped out of bounds again, it's being looked at under a more critical microscope.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, I think September is going to be very different for him.
Yeah, there's a really good chance with the Saturn continuing.
We'll definitely have to get back together in September and talk, because I think we're going to see a very different 45. And I do believe, we reap what we have sown, and he has sown discord and hatred, greed, violence, so many things like that. And it's coming back to him, and to have that much negative energy get sent your way has to be overwhelming for anybody. Because I kind of just feel like he's just collapsing come September. So Good Juju made a hilarious comment. She wants to know if Melania funds that group that's donating, that's a Republican that's donating to Kamala. Here's the thing, because people do ask me about Melania. I think what she's doing is she's writing this out because of the prenup. I think they live very separate lives. I don't think that this is the romance of the century here. And I don't think she really even hit it. It was a business transaction getting married to him.
Transactional, yeah.
I mean, I don't think she planned on him being president, but
yeah, no, to me, she always seemed like a very transactional private person, who really, I kind of feel like she really when it comes to him, like, give me your money. Like, I don't think she really wants to necessarily really be associated with him.
No, and especially she's and this actually is one thing I like about her. She is protective of her son bearing.
Yeah, that's good.
And because every time they try to do something foolish with him, she yanks him back and is like, no, like, you're not doing this.
Good.
And so she has kept him out of the spotlight. I think she tries to keep him on the straight and narrow. Of course, he is 18 now, so which way he chooses to go, more towards mom or dad, remains to be seen, because he's still young. But
lessons.
Right? I mean, can you imagine living in that house? I mean, my God, like, growing up in that atmosphere must have been bizarre, to say the least. But before it gets too late, November 5th, I know you did a chart for the election day, which I see as crazy energy too.
It's an
It looks intense.
it's a pretty intense day. So there are a lot of what are called oppositional aspects. It's when two planets are the oppositional parts of the astrology chart. Oppositions are intense. They're confrontational. So, for example, one of the first oppositions is with Mars, which represents anger, ego exertion, sitting opposed Pluto, which is power. A Mars Pluto opposition is one of the more intense, combustible, explosive aspects here. So there's just going to be a lot at stake as far as a power grab, and as far as a lot of anger, a lot of explosive energy. I mean, a Mars opposed Pluto is definitely, like, I would probably put that in the top 5 most intense aspects.
Really?
Yeah. It highlights can highlight that aggression, and also highlight the intense power dynamic that goes with it. One thing, though, that can be kind of promised that can come out of this aspect is Pluto's death and rebirth and transformation. So there will be some strong transformation that comes through with this, but it's going to come through a lot of intensity.
Right.
And some, I don't want to say bloodshed, but I want to more use the word intensity, and maybe a lot of anger and rage.
For sure.
Other keywords of Mars. Another aspect that I see too here is the planet Jupiter is going to be sitting in oppositional aspects as well. So when Jupiter is, I call it, out of bounds, and one of these, it tends to really blow up those energies and kind of kind of exacerbate them. Jupiter in these aspects can make for like overestimation of your capabilities.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so this could play out in the sense of maybe Trump like declares himself as winner. I mean, something like it's a little messy with a Jupiter opposition, because it's all like Lady Luck is on my side, throwing full
right.
That isn't necessarily what's happening. It's just how you're feeling.
Sure.
So that's an opposition to the moon. The moon sets the tone. So the tone may be this sort of overly confident attitude, maybe on both sides as well, because astrology affects us all.
Sure.
Another thing is Venus is going to be opposed Jupiter too. So Venus represents popularity, and what do we need to win? We need popularity. So this is also, maybe both sides being like convinced of the win. There's going to be a lot of ego flying. There's going to be intensity. There's going to be a lot of harsh words. There's going to be a lot of overestimation. There's going to be a lot of kind of everything going on. Another thing too is the planet Venus, again, which rules the popularity. It's going to be in a square aspect, or a dynamic aspect, to Neptune. Neptune squares also highlight things like illusions and delusions. Another thing, though, is if we sit quiet with these Neptune aspects, you can get sort of enhanced intuitive abilities and be able to kind of really see what's going on. So for those individuals out there who want to, who during this time don't want to be so wrapped up and want to kind of look to inner guidance, Neptune aspects can increase kind of intuitive understanding to really kind of sort of uncover what's going on. It's gonna be like kind of an all over the place day. I can't, by looking at this, I can't really say that it favors each party, but it favors just a lot of transformation, a lot of intensity, and just a lot of strong dynamic.
Right. Yeah, it feels like a very energetic day.
Yeah.
But I think in some ways, though, the positive of that is that people actually do get out and vote. So hopefully they'll use some of that energy for the good, and get out, vote, make their vote count. I mean, we know the Republicans are going to try to do whatever they're going to do, but I'm not overly worried. Like, I'm not losing sleep over it. It's nothing new. This is, they're trying to plant people in certain states, and you know what? Our democracy has always held up. Even with the Jan 6 thing, our democracy still held up. And so I know a lot of people are panicked right now, but the more I do the cards, the more I listen to my guides and I do channelings and get information and talk to astrologers, like the better I'm feeling, like the calmer I'm feeling over all of this.
Yeah. Another thing as well is Trump's shenanigans that he pulled last time, they're not going to work. They're just, people are legit, they don't care.
No, he's a one-trick pony, right?
Yeah.
He's that one-trick pony. There's one thing that he knows how to do, and he keeps doing it. And I mean, whenever I saw the sneakers for sale, how after he got hit by the piece of the podium or whatever, I mean, why the Secret Service didn't push his head down is so weird to me, but whatever. But he stands there, with the fist pump, saying fight. And then he had to put on the side of sneakers and you could buy them for $300. I was like, I think we're just so over with all this stuff. I mean, how much can you grift? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, he's an old dog.
Right.
Old dog, new tricks. He was actually born in the year of the dog as well.
Oh God, and I like dogs. Oh, jeepers. Okay.
Year of the dog too. So not all dogs are bad.
Right. Yeah. This is my year. I am a dragon. So
dragon. My best friend actually that I'm staying with now in Hawaii, she's a dragon. Dogs and dragons they're in the oppositional aspect. And the oppositional aspect, there tends to be sort of this long-lasting kind of intricate compatibility and kind of a lot of soul learning, soul growth, growing together, things like that with oppositional
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because we never talk much about like the Chinese zodiac and all of that, but there is something to that too that could be looked at, absolutely. So I will let you go because you are in gorgeous Hawaii, and thank you for taking this time out to be with us. And
you're so welcome.
We really appreciate it. Make sure you check out his channel, Adam Free Astrology, and check out my website, DianneAquarius.com. I'll put the links below after this gets uploaded. And make sure you hit the like button, everybody, and we will see you again. Bye, guys.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.